Thank you, Harold. Have you ever been so embarrassed or humiliated by some failed attempt at something that you never want to do it again? Well, travel back in time with me. I was a professional tennis player, and I met my husband here in Phoenix playing in a tournament. And shortly thereafter, he took me home to meet his family. I walked in the door, and there was his 97-year-old grandmother, Maud Yarborough Tutt, a lovely, prim and proper woman from the South. She asked me repeatedly throughout the evening, "Anne, don't you get nervous playing in front of all those people? Aren't you scared playing in front of all those people?" Well, I said to her, because I was quite full of myself and young and had had some successes on the tour, I said, "No, actually, I rather enjoy showing off for all those people my talents." A few weeks later, I went to Boston, played in a big tournament there, and I drew Margaret Court, the #1 player in the world. Margaret was tall, almost 6 feet tall. She was strong. She was fast. And she hit that ball a ton. I got out on the court. The arena was packed. Thousands of people there. Whenever you play a top player, there's always going to be a big crowd. I even had a couple of friends from college there. Well, here's how the match went. It was over in 40 minutes, 6-1, 6-1. I was so embarrassed, so humiliated. I just want to put my racket down and quit. Well, actually, I want to put my racket down and quit. If I asked you, are you a risk taker? You would probably say, well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. That's because researchers have found that there are 4 different types of risk-taking. The first type is physical risk-taking. Those are the people who leap out of airplanes, who climb mountains. The downside of that type of physical risk-taking is pain, death. Serious downside, right? The second type is financial. You can take risks investing in things and hoping that you're going to make lots of money back, right? Well, what's the downside of physical risk-taking? Oh my gosh, you can be set back years from reaching your financial goals. Another serious downside. The third kind is moral risk-taking. You know, that line between right and wrong, and people just kind of step over it. Maybe embezzle, a little bit of money. Maybe cheat on your spouse, just this once. Or maybe renege on a contract, deal in drugs. What are the consequences, the downside risk of moral risk-taking? Well, you could lose your spouse. You could lose your professional license. You could go to prison. And I've known people who've suffered all of those consequences. Pretty serious stuff. The fourth kind is social risk-taking. These are people who get up here and give a TED Talk. This is a social risk. People who are willing to take a leadership role. People who are in sales and have to ask people to buy repeatedly. People who do fundraising, as I do. I guarantee you that people who are the top fundraisers or the top salespeople are also the ones who have failed the most. Well, what's the downside of social risk-taking? Well, disappointment, maybe embarrassment, maybe even humiliation. How bad is that? We can get over those things, right? But if you ask people, what are your worst fears? And survey after survey, the top fear for people is public speaking. If they're at a funeral, they would rather not be giving the eulogy. They'd rather be the corpse. When I lost that match, what happened? The next day? Nothing. Nothing. Those thousands of people who saw me play, they went home. They got up the next day. They had their breakfast. They went to work. They weren't thinking about me. They couldn't even remember my name, which at the time was kind of difficult. And I definitely traded up when I got married for an easier name. But Dale Carnegie tells us that we spend 85% of our time thinking about ourselves. We don't have time to think about you. So this embarrassment and humiliation is probably more in your mind than it is in other people's mind. So what do we do about this? How can we overcome our fears? Well, there are three things that we need to consider. The first one, embrace our fear. If we're afraid, that means that we're stepping outside of our comfort zone. We're in new territory. Of course we're going to be afraid. Billie Jean King has written a book on this subject called Pressure is a Privilege. And her premise is that if you're feeling pressure, if you're feeling afraid, that means you're doing something important. So embrace that fear. Second thing, use the fear to motivate yourself. You need motivation sometimes to work on we need it to work on our skills, to acquire the education that we need to succeed. You know, you can think and grow rich. You can dream big and it will happen. I don't think so. You need to work on those skills and have the knowledge. And the third thing is to keep your eye on the prize. In my case, being a professional tennis player, the prize was money. Money, travel the world, have the opportunity to inspire girls and women. I'm one of the founders of the Women's Tennis Association. We actually started the Women's Pro Tour. And since then, we've provided a stage for women to showcase their talents that's really like no other. Well, I wish that I could tell you that my humiliation at the hands of Margaret Court was the last time this ever happened, but sadly, it wasn't. It happened again and again, and unfortunately, or whatever the case may be, failure is just part of success. It comes with the territory. If you ask any successful person, any honest successful person, have you ever experienced any failures? They'll say, are you kidding? I've had some real doozies. And they could probably go on and on about their failures. So failure is just part of success. Margaret Court, for example, after she clobbered me, a few months later, she played Bobby Riggs in the first Battle of the Sexes. This is before the Billie Jean King match. And it was on national television on Mother's Day. Margaret was actually a mother. They called it the Mother's Day Massacre because Bobby absolutely clobbered her. 6-1, 6-2, 45 minutes, national TV. Millions of people saw this. Poor Margaret, oh my gosh, she just couldn't believe what hit her. She was so nervous, she just couldn't perform at her level. The occasion overwhelmed her. Did she quit, crawl under a stone? Hardly. 3 weeks later, she won the French Open, one of the 4 major tournaments of the year. 3 months after that, she won the US Open. She ended the year #1. So Margaret was able to overcome her failure because she knows. It's just a blip in the road. She just knows that failure is part of the success journey. Well, remember that time when you were embarrassed by some failure? Remember that now. And I am guessing that it's probably been way, way too important in your life. It's just not that important. So today, you have permission to let it go. Just throw it out the window and release yourself from that memory that's holding you back, that fear of failure that's holding you back. Remember those 3 things, if you're tweeting or Facebooking, those 3 things about overcoming failure. Number 1, embrace your fear. It means you're doing something important. Number 2, use your fear to motivate yourself. And number 3, keep your eye on the prize. It's my hope today that you can take these tools and go out and achieve your dreams. Thank you.